I balanced the coffee tray in my hands, trying not to spill as I walked toward Daniel's office. He hated when I was late. I smiled when I heard his laugh from inside. It used to make me feel safe. But today, something felt different. Come on, man, one of his friends joked. You could have anyone. Why that intern? Daniel laughed, that deep, confident laugh that once melted me. She's harmless. Sweet, simple, poor. It's kind of cute, you know? A little charity project. My heart stopped. Charity project? His friend snickered. You're unbelievable. Relax, Daniel said. She thinks she's in love. I'm just keeping her around until the merger ends. After that, who knows? I didn't move. My fingers dug into the tray until the paper cups crumpled. Coffee spilled down my wrist, burning, but not as much as his words. Lena's voice echoed from the hallway. Izzy, are you okay? I forced a smile as she appeared. Yeah, just spilled it. Her eyes darted toward Daniel's office. You heard something, didn't you? I nodded faintly. Enough. Before I could stop myself, I pushed open his door. The room went silent. 3 men turned toward me mid-laughter. Isabella, Daniel said smoothly, like nothing had happened. I didn't expect... Coffee, I interrupted, setting the tray on his desk. I hope you enjoy it. It cost me more than it should have. One of his friends coughed awkwardly. Daniel tried to smile. Hey, don't take jokes seriously. You know how guys talk. Jokes? My voice trembled. You called me a charity case, Daniel. That's not a joke. That's who you really are. He stood, lowering his tone. Izzy, calm down. You're overreacting. I'm overreacting? I whispered. I've worked every night shift, every double hour just to stand beside you and... You tell people I'm your charity? Lena stepped closer to me, her hand on my shoulder. Izzy, let's go, Daniel sighed. You're making a scene. Can we talk in private? There's nothing left to talk about, I said quietly. You've already told them everything that matters. He reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Don't touch me, his jaw tightened. You'll regret walking away like this. I looked at him for the last time, the man I thought I loved, standing in a suit worth more than my rent, still believing money made him powerful. Maybe I will, I said softly, but at least I won't regret being honest. I turned to leave. My hands were shaking, but I kept walking until the elevator doors closed between us. Lena followed, silent until we reached the parking lot. Izzy, what are you going to do? I stared at the city skyline, my reflection trembling in the glass door. I don't know, I whispered. But I'm done being someone's charity. From now on, I'll build something of my own, something no one can laugh at. Lena nodded slowly. You mean that? Yes, I said, my voice firming. He called me poor. One day, he'll remember those words and choke on them. The elevator dinged behind us, echoing like a promise. The office buzzed with excitement. Balloons, champagne, and fake smiles filled the air. It was Daniel's product launch party, the one I had planned down to the last flower. Lena nudged me. You okay? I'm fine, I lied, adjusting my dress. He said he'd be here soon. Yeah, she muttered, scanning the door, with a surprise apparently. The surprise walked in 5 minutes later, tall, blonde, wrapped around Daniel's arm like she'd owned him forever. I blinked once. Twice. Who's that? Her name's Maya, Lena whispered. The new marketing assistant. Daniel's eyes found mine. He smiled like nothing had happened. Isabella, he said loudly, drawing everyone's attention. Meet Maya, my girlfriend. My breath caught. Girlfriend? Maya grinned, perfectly confident. You must be the intern he told me about. The one who brings his coffee? A few people chuckled. My cheeks burned. Daniel added, She's sweet, isn't she? Always helpful. The words hit like stones. I wanted to scream, but my throat was frozen. I set the champagne glass down and forced a smile. You two look perfect for each other. He tilted his head, mock sympathy in his voice. Don't take it personally, Izzy. You're great, just not my type anymore. Lena stepped between us. You're unbelievable, Daniel smirked. Relax, we're all adults here. No, I said quietly. You're a coward hiding behind his ego. He leaned closer, whispering, You should be thanking me. Without me, no one would even know your name. I met his eyes. Then it's time they learn it without you. The room fell silent. Even the music felt awkward. I turned and walked toward the exit, my heels clicking against marble like a slow heartbeat. Lena ran after me. Izzy, wait. Outside, the cold air hit my face. I didn't realize I was crying until she touched my arm. He's not worth it, she said softly. I believed in him, I whispered. Every word, every promise. And he replaced me like I was nothing. You're not nothing, she said. You're just standing in the wrong room, I laughed bitterly. Story of my life. She hesitated, then pulled an envelope from her purse. I wasn't going to show you this tonight, but maybe it's the right time. I frowned. What is it? A scholarship. You remember that international business program I told you about? I applied for you. You got in. What? My voice cracked. Lena, why would you? Because I knew you wouldn't do it for yourself, she said. You're too busy trying to prove your worth to people who don't deserve it. I opened the envelope, my tears smudging the print. It was real. A full scholarship in London. I exhaled slowly. I can't believe this. You can, she said. And you will. I looked up at the night sky. The rooftop lights shimmered below us, but I only saw the future distant, terrifying. And calling my name. I'm leaving, I whispered. Lena smiled faintly. Good, leave him here with his lies and his new toy. I took one last look at the city, the noise, the betrayal. He humiliated me today, I said quietly. But tomorrow I'll start becoming someone he'll never be able to touch again. Lena squeezed my hand. That's the Isabella I know? And under that cold, starless sky, I made a silent promise. I would never be anyone's humiliation again. The taxi driver glanced at me through the mirror. You sure you don't want to look back one last time, miss? I clutched my 2 suitcases tighter. No, there's nothing left to look at. The city lights smeared across the glass like ghosts. My heart felt heavier than my luggage dot at the airport gate. Lena hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. Promise me you'll text when you land. I will, I said, forcing a smile. Thank you for everything. Don't thank me, she whispered. Just make this pain worth something. Her words stayed with me through every security check, every tear I refused to let fall. On the plane, the seat beside me was empty. I stared out at the darkness, whispering to myself, I'll come back stronger. Not for him, for me. Months later, London swallowed me whole. The cold stung my skin, and the city moved too fast to notice I was breaking. Miss Khan? A soft voice called during my first lecture. A woman with silver hair and kind eyes smiled at me. I'm Mrs. Avery. You're one of the scholarship students, correct? Yes, ma'am. She looked over my trembling hands. Nervous? A little, I admitted. It's a new world. Her voice softened. Then start by owning it. The world doesn't wait for broken hearts. That line hit me harder than I expected. After class, a guy with messy hair and a coffee cup sat beside me in the library. You look like you've been awake since the 18th century, he said. I almost laughed. Probably because I have been midterms. Leo Park, he said, holding out his hand. Professional procrastinator. Isabella, I replied. Professional overthinker. We became friends the way tired souls often do quietly, over too many coffees. One night, while studying, Leo looked up. Why do you always look like you're running from something? I hesitated. Because I am. Ex-boyfriend? Ex-life, I said simply. He leaned back. Then build a new one. Don't let whoever broke you think he still owns your thoughts. His bluntness startled me. But it was what I needed, over time. Mrs. Avery's mentorship and Leo's friendship filled the empty spaces Daniel left behind. I worked part-time, studied full-time, and slept almost never. But every night when exhaustion hit, I reminded myself, this is the price of becoming someone new. One evening, I called Lena. I'm surviving, I said. Sipping cheap coffee in a freezing dorm room, she laughed softly. No, you're rebuilding. I looked around at my books, my notes, my life in fragments. Yeah, I whispered. I guess I am. Before hanging up, she said, when you come back, make sure he really sees you. I will, I promised as I lay in bed that night, the city lights blinked outside my window. For the first time in months, I didn't feel small. I felt unfinished, but stronger. Daniel had taken everything. But not me. And that was enough to begin again. Asterisk. Do you ever stop working? Leo leaned against my desk, holding 2 coffees. I didn't look up from my laptop. Only when the Wi-Fi dies. He laughed. You've been here since 7. It's almost midnight. I'm aware, I said, typing faster. Deadlines don't care about beauty sleep. Neither do ghosts, he teased. You're still chasing one, aren't you? I paused. Maybe, but ghosts don't scare me anymore. Leo placed the coffee beside me. Then what does? Failing, I said simply. After everything, I can't go back to being that girl who was laughed at. He studied me. You mean the poor girl? I smiled faintly. Exactly. The one people pitied. Well, he said, stretching his arms, that girl doesn't exist anymore. You're the youngest manager in the company. You literally terrify half the board. Good, I muttered. Maybe fear earns more respect than kindness. He shook his head. You're wrong. You earned it because you never quit. For a moment, I let his words sink in. 4 years had passed since London became my new world. I'd worked through nights, failed presentations, and countless cups of bitter coffee. But I had built a version of myself even Daniel wouldn't recognize. Leo snapped his fingers in front of me. Earth to Isabella. Did you just zone out into your tragic origin story again? Shut up, I laughed. Some of us have trauma to process. Then process faster, he said, tossing a folder onto my desk. Mrs. Avery wants you in her office. Mrs. Avery looked up as I entered. Isabella, sit. Her smile was warm but sharp, the kind that made you straighten your back. You've done remarkable work, she said. The firm is expanding into Asia. We're forming a partnership with a rising startup back in your home country. My pen froze mid-note. Home, you mean Pakistan? Yes, she replied. The company's based in your old city. They need someone who understands both markets. I immediately thought of you. I blinked. You want me to go back? It's an opportunity, not a punishment, she said gently. You've earned this. Leo's voice echoed from the doorway. You're going to say yes, right? I turned toward him. I don't know. He grinned. You always say yes to impossible things. Why stop now? Mrs. Avery folded her hands. It's poetic, isn't it? The girl who left with nothing returns with everything. Her words made my chest tighten. I could almost see Daniel's face, hear his laughter. Feel the sting of every word he'd ever said. I'll think about it, I murmured. Later that night. Leo found me on the office balcony, staring at the city lights. You're scared, he said. I'm not sure what I am, I admitted. Going back means facing everything I buried. He leaned beside me. Then dig it up, Izzy. Burying pain doesn't make it disappear, it just waits. I exhaled. What if he's still there? Then show him what he lost. The wind brushed against my face, and I realized I wasn't trembling anymore. I'll go, I said finally. Not for him. For me, Leo smiled. Now that's the Isabella the first met 4 years ago, only stronger. I looked at the glowing skyline one last time. Then let's see if ghosts can handle fire. The moment I stepped off the plane, the air felt heavier, like it remembered me. Lena's voice cut through the noise. Isabella! I turned just in time to be pulled into her arms. She squeezed me so tight I could barely breathe. Still dramatic, I see. I laughed softly. Still heartless. I see, she shot back, wiping her eyes. God, you look different, powerful. I traded tears for caffeine, I said, smiling faintly. It works. She linked her arm with mine as we walked toward the car. I can't believe you're really here. London made you taller or something. Confidence does that, I replied. Or heals. She laughed. Both, probably. So, have you heard? I glanced at her. About what? She hesitated. Daniel. His company's been tanking. 2 failed mergers, 1 lawsuit. He's barely holding it together. My fingers tightened on the seatbelt. Karma doesn't rush, but she never forgets. Lena looked at me carefully. And now your firm wants to buy his. How does that feel? I exhaled slowly. Complicated. Complicated how? I don't know whether to celebrate or feel sorry for him, I said quietly. Once I would have done anything to see him suffer. Now I just want to get through the meeting without shaking. She turned to me. You mean the meeting with him? Yes, I said. He'll be there tomorrow. Mr. Carter mentioned it in the prep call. Her eyes widened. You're kidding. I wish I was. We drove in silence for a while. The city passed by, familiar yet distant. The same billboards, same streets, but I wasn't the same girl who'd once walked them crying. Lena finally spoke. You're stronger now. Don't let him see even a crack. I don't break anymore, I said, though my chest betrayed a tremor. Liar, she whispered. I smiled faintly. Maybe, but I've learned to rebuild faster. She reached over, placing her hand on mine. Whatever happens tomorrow, remember you left this city in pieces, and you're returning as someone whole. Her words made my throat tighten. I left because of pain, Lena. I'm back because of purpose. Then let purpose speak louder than the past. We stopped at a red light. Across the street stood the cafe where Daniel once told me he needed space. The same place I swore I'd never return to. Lena noticed me staring. You okay? I'm fine, I said. It's just strange how ghosts stay even after you've outgrown them. She nodded. Tomorrow you'll face one. Just remember, ghosts only haunt those who let them. I looked out the window, the city lights blurring like memories. Then I guess it's time to stop running. Lena smiled. There she is, the Isabella I've missed. I smiled back, though my stomach twisted. Tomorrow I'd sit across from the man who once shattered me, only this time. He wouldn't be holding the power. The conference room was colder than I remembered offices ever being. Maybe it was just me. My fingers tapped the polished table, rhythm steady, heart anything but. Are you nervous? Leo whispered beside me. I forced a small smile. Only if my face says so. He chuckled. It doesn't. You look like someone about to close a billion-dollar deal. Technically I am, I murmured. Just not with the person I'd ever imagined. Before Leo could reply, the door opened. Footsteps slow, confident. I didn't need to look up. I knew that sound. Daniel. Sorry for being late, he said smoothly. Traffic was insane. Then silence. I finally lifted my eyes. The moment our gazes met, everything in the room stilled. You? He said, voice cracking slightly. I leaned back in my chair, calm, collected. Good to see you again, Mr. Reed. His jaw clenched. You're with the acquisition team? Leading it, I said. Shall we begin? Leo cleared his throat, flipping open the file. Our firm is interested in purchasing Reed Dynamics. Ms. Khan will be heading negotiations. Daniel didn't sit immediately. He stared as if trying to understand how the girl he once mocked had become the woman across from him. Finally, he lowered himself into the chair. Well, he said slowly, this is unexpected. Life tends to surprise us, I replied. Sometimes brutally. He smirked faintly. You've changed. I had to, I said. Growth is usually the side effect of being underestimated. Leo shot me a quick glance, trying not to smile. Daniel leaned forward. You're really doing this? Business is business, Mr. Reed. Personal feelings don't belong in the boardroom. His eyes darkened. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I met his gaze evenly. I'm doing my job. Sure, he said quietly. But you could have refused this project. I don't refuse opportunities, I said. Especially not the poetic ones. He exhaled sharply. Is that what this is to you, poetry? Closure, I said. In spreadsheet form. Leo coughed to hide a laugh. Perhaps we should discuss the merger terms? I nodded, flipping a page. Reed Dynamics will retain partial control for 6 months post-acquisition. After that, all decisions go through our firm. Daniel frowned. So I'm supposed to hand over my company and wait for you to decide my fate. You're supposed to cooperate, I said. It's the best deal you'll get. His silence filled the room. Then softly, you really don't forgive easily. I forgave, I said. I just didn't forget. Our eyes met again, his regret, my restraint, years of silence between us. He looked away first. You've become ruthless. No, I whispered. I've become free. For a moment, no one spoke. Only the sound of the air conditioner hummed above us. Shall we proceed? I asked, breaking the tension. Daniel nodded stiffly. Proceed? The man who once called me poor now signed the papers that put his company and his pride under my name. The second meeting started like a storm pretending to be calm. I stood at the head of the table, the city skyline behind me. My voice sounded steady, even though my pulse was anything but, "Let's review yesterday's points," I said. "We'll begin with asset allocation." Daniel smirked, leaning back. "You've grown quite the backbone, Isabella." I didn't flinch. "I had to, Mr. Reed. Survival teaches lessons softer lives never learn." A murmur rippled around the room. I continued without missing a beat. "Revenue forecasts are down 40%. We'll restructure operations starting next quarter." He crossed his arms. "And do you think your firm can fix that?" I met his eyes. "We already have. The merger terms are signed." "I'm not here to thank Daniel. I'm here to act." Leah stifled a groan beside me. "Moving on, shall we?" Daniel tried to speak again, but I raised my hand slightly. "Please hold your comments until the report ends. Efficiency matters." He went quiet. The silence that followed wasn't defeat, it was disbelief. When the presentation ended, Lena appeared at the doorway waiting for me. She was smiling, eyes glistening with something between pride and awe. "You were ice," she whispered the second I stepped out. "Pure, graceful, untouchable ice." I exhaled, shoulders dropping. "I wasn't trying to be." She grinned wider. "That's what power looks like." Power, I rolled the word in my head. It didn't feel like power. It felt like breathing again after being underwater for too long. Leo walked out behind me, carrying the files. "He looked like he'd swallowed nails," he said. "I noticed," I replied softly. "Are you okay?" I hesitated. "I don't know." "I should be." "Then act like you are," he said kindly. "He doesn't deserve your emotions anymore." Before I could answer, a voice echoed down the hall. "Isabella." I froze. Daniel stood by the elevator, hands in his pockets, trying to sound casual but failing. Lena glanced at me. "You don't owe him a second." "I know," I said. "But I'm curious what a man says after losing everything." She frowned. "Don't let him pull you back." "I won't." I walked over slowly, heels clicking against the marble. Daniel straightened. "Can we talk privately?" I folded my arms. "You had your chance years ago." "This isn't about the past," he said quickly. "It's about understanding." "Understanding?" I repeated. "You called me a poor girl, Daniel. What's left to understand?" His eyes softened. "You think I don't regret that? You think I didn't realize how wrong I was?" I laughed quietly. "Regret is easy when you've lost." He winced. "You've changed." "You're colder." "No," I said, stepping closer. "I'm calmer." "There's a difference. Then tell me what you feel now." I smiled faintly. "Relief, you can't hurt me anymore." The elevator doors opened behind him. I turned away. "Isabella," he called again, voice cracking. "Are we really done?" I didn't look back. "We were done the day you chose your ego over love." As the doors closed, his reflection disappeared, and I felt something inside me finally loosen. Lena appeared beside me again. "You okay?" I nodded. "Better than ever." And for the first time, I truly meant it. Asterisk, the evening wind brushed against my face as I stepped out of the building. The day had been long, the kind that drains you and fills you at the same time. I wanted nothing but quiet until I saw Daniel stood near the parking lot, hands buried in his pockets, eyes dark with something unfamiliar, regret. "Isabella," he called softly. I paused. "You're still here?" "I waited," he said. "I needed to talk to you." "I think we've talked enough," I replied, walking toward my car. "Please," he said, stepping in front of me. "Just 5 minutes." I sighed. "You have too." He exhaled, shoulders dropping. I was stupid. I was scared. I never meant those words. I looked at him, the man who once made me feel small enough to vanish. "Which ones?" "There were so many." His voice cracked. "The ones that broke you." "They didn't break me," I said quietly. "They built me." He looked down. "You don't believe me, but I hated myself after you left." "That's not my burden anymore, Daniel." He ran a hand through his hair. "I thought success meant control." I thought love was weakness. But he stopped, searching my face. You proved me wrong. I crossed my arms. It's strange hearing that from you now. I know, he said, voice trembling. I lost the best thing I ever had because I couldn't see her worth. My throat tightened, but I didn't let it show. You didn't lose me because you couldn't see my worth. You lost me because I finally saw mine. His eyes glistened. Isabella, please. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know I'm sorry. Sorry, I repeated, the word tasting bitter. You used to laugh at that word. I mean it, he insisted. If I could go back, you can't, I interrupted. That's the point. He stepped closer. Do you still hate me? I shook my head. No, hate takes energy. I spend it all healing. He swallowed hard. Then do you ever miss me? Sometimes, I admitted. But not the way you think. I miss the version of me who believed love didn't hurt. He winced. You've changed. I had to. He gave a sad smile. You're stronger now. No, I said softly. I'm peaceful now. Strength came first. Peace followed. Silence stretched between us, filled with memories neither of us wanted to touch. Finally, I said, Daniel, I forgive you. He looked up, surprised. You do? Yes, I said. But that doesn't mean I forget. His eyes flickered with something desperate. Then maybe no, I said firmly. There's no maybe left. I walked through fire to find myself. I won't step back into the ashes. He nodded slowly, the realization settling in his face like dusk. You really don't need me anymore. I never did, I whispered. I just didn't know it then. I turned, heels echoing against the pavement. Isabella. He called after me. Will you ever think of me again? I didn't look back. Only when I remind myself what I survived. And then I walked away quietly, completely free. The boardroom was silent when the announcement was made. Effective immediately, Mr. Carter said, Isabella Kin will take the position of Chief Executive Officer of the merged corporation. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. I smiled, steady and composed, though inside my heart was a trembling flame. Leo grinned beside me. You did it. I nodded, voice low. We did it. He leaned closer. You know everyone's waiting for your next move. I know. He gave me a look. Including him. My eyes found Daniel at the far end of the table. He looked smaller somehow, his arrogance replaced with uncertainty. When the meeting ended, he approached me. Congratulations, he said softly. Thank you, I replied. You must feel proud. I feel ready, I said. Pride fades. Readiness stays. He nodded awkwardly. I heard you're restructuring. Some of us might be reassigned. Some will, I said. Based on performance. He hesitated. And me? I tilted my head slightly. You're still under review. His jaw tightened. You're enjoying this. I'm doing my job, I said evenly. Enjoyment isn't part of the contract. He gave a bitter laugh. You've become ruthless. No, I said. I've become efficient. The next day, my office was filled with flowers, interviews, and congratulations. Headlines flashed across every screen. Youngest woman CEO in tech merges two giants. From intern to icon, Isabella Khan's rise. Lena burst into my office holding a magazine. Look at this. They're calling you the Phoenix of business. I smiled faintly. Rising from ashes takes time. She squeezed my shoulder. So what about Daniel? I glanced at the folder on my desk, his file. Still deciding. Leo walked in just then. Press wants a quote from you, boss. Something powerful. I smirked. How about, the past doesn't define me, it trained me. He grinned. That's cold and perfect. When the others left, I opened Daniel's file. His record was impressive technically. But leadership wasn't just numbers. It was character. A knock on the door broke my thoughts. Come in, I said. Daniel stepped inside slowly. You wanted to see me? Yes, I said. Sit. He obeyed. For the first time, I noticed his eyes didn't carry the same fire, they carried fear. I've reviewed your position, I said. You've done good work. But we need leaders who respect people as much as profit. He swallowed hard. Meaning? I met his gaze. Meaning this company deserves better. He shifted in his seat. You're firing me. I'm freeing you, I said quietly. To rebuild yourself without stepping on anyone else. Silence stretched. Then he stood slowly. You really did become everything I said you couldn't. And you became everything I promised myself I'd never be, I replied. He nodded once. Eyes dim, then turned to leave Dot as the door closed behind him. I exhaled. Years of pain, humiliation, and doubt finally settled into something lighter, not revenge, respect, mine. Asterisk. He knocked twice before entering. Come in, I said. Not looking up from the file, the air shifted when he stepped inside, uneasy, heavy, almost pleading. Please. Isabella, Daniel began, his voice low. I need this job. I raised my eyes slowly. You already had one. For years. You just didn't value it. He swallowed hard. I know I made mistakes. I was young, stupid. And cruel, I added. His lips parted. I didn't mean you meant every word, I cut in. I remember them clearly. He exhaled shakily. I've changed. People say that when they lose power, I said. Rarely when they have it. He stepped closer. Isabella, please. You don't understand. Oh, I understand, I interrupted again. You mocked me, dismissed me, told me I'd never belong in this world. You said I was just a poor girl pretending to be someone she wasn't. He looked down, ashamed. I was wrong. I stood up slowly, each movement deliberate. You said I was just a poor girl. I held his gaze. Now this poor girl signs your paycheck or ends it. Silence filled the room. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. I gestured toward the chair. Sit, Daniel. He obeyed, hands trembling. I sat back down, folding my hands atop the termination letter. You were offered a leadership position after the merger. I vouched for everyone based on merit, not memory. But your department failed 3 quarters in a row. You blamed others, not yourself. I was under pressure, he said quickly. You have no idea what I do, I said quietly. I've lived under pressure my whole life. He leaned forward, desperate. Isabella, I've got a family now. A mortgage. I can't start over. My voice stayed calm. I started over with nothing but humiliation and hunger. You'll survive. He gritted his teeth. You're enjoying this. I'm not, I said firmly. If I were, I'd make you beg longer. His eyes widened. I slid the paper toward him. Your termination letter? He stared at it, then at me. You're really doing this? Yes, he laughed bitterly. You waited all these years just to get back at me. I met his eyes. No, Daniel. I waited all these years to become someone you couldn't break again. He hesitated, then said quietly, You're stronger than I ever imagined. Stronger, I said. Because of what you tried to destroy. He nodded slowly. I deserve this. I said nothing. He picked up the letter, his fingers trembling. Good luck, Mr. Reed, I said softly. He froze at the name. Once it had been spoken with affection. Now it was a closing chapter. Without another word, he turned and left out the door clicked shut behind him. For a long moment, I just stood there watching the city through the glass wall. It gleamed with the kind of sunlight that once mocked me when I walked home with rejection letters in my bag. Lena entered quietly. Is it done? I nodded. It's done. She sighed. How do you feel? I thought about it. Not angry. Not proud. Just peaceful. She smiled gently. That's what healing feels like. I looked down at the empty chair across from me. Funny, I thought revenge would taste sweeter. And? She asked. It tastes like silence, I said. But it's enough. Lena nodded. Then left me alone again. I sat, breathing slowly. The quiet filling the room where he once shouted orders, laughed cruelly. And looked down on me. Now he was gone. And for the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt free. I stared at the skyline from my office window long after everyone had gone home. The city lights flickered like memories bright but distant. I'd fired Daniel. The moment I thought would define my life had come and gone. Yet, instead of triumph, there was silence. My phone buzzed. Leo. Congratulations. CEO, he said, voice full of warmth. I forced a laugh. Feels strange hearing that. You sound like you just buried someone. Maybe I did, I said softly. Maybe a version of me. He paused. You're not happy? I should be. I won. I took everything he once said I couldn't have. But it doesn't feel like victory, it feels like nothing. Leo exhaled. You spent years fighting a ghost, Isabella. And now that it's gone, you don't know what to chase. I sat on the edge of the desk. When I signed that paper, I expected fireworks inside me. But there was just calm. Cold, quiet calm. That's closure, he said. Not joy. Closure, I repeated. Is that what this is supposed to feel like? Yes, he said gently. Because happiness doesn't come from breaking someone else, it comes from building yourself. I smiled faintly. You always know what to say. Because I watched you burn for too long, he replied. Now it's time to live. I looked out again at the glowing skyline. Live, that word sounds heavier than it used to. Then start small, he said. Sleep, eat something that isn't coffee. Remember who you were before proving everyone wrong became your full-time job. I laughed quietly. That girl was naive. That girl was brave, he countered. She's the reason you're here. The words hit me harder than I expected. Maybe I owe her an apology, I whispered. For what? For forgetting she wanted more than revenge. There was silence on the line, the good kind, the kind that let truth breathe. Isabella, Leo said finally, you've won. Now live. After he hung up, I stood there, watching the city pulse with life. Cars moved below like veins of light. People laughed in restaurants, walked hand in hand, lived without thinking about who they'd beaten. I'd spent so long running towards something that wasn't peace. And now that I'd reached it, I didn't know how to stand still. I whispered to my reflection. You did it. But even my reflection didn't smile. Winning wasn't about destroying Daniel, it was about proving I could rise without him. And tonight, I realized revenge had given me closure, but it hadn't given me happiness. I turned off the lights, picked up my coat, and stepped into the quiet hallway. The elevator doors closed behind me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was falling or climbing. I just was, and maybe that was where living began. The letter came on a quiet Tuesday morning, tucked between corporate envelopes and client reports. My name, written as handwriting, froze me. For a moment, I just stared at it. My hands trembled, not from fear but from memory. Leo looked up from his desk. Everything okay? It's from him, I said softly. Daniel? I nodded. After all this time. He hesitated. You don't have to read it, I know. I unfolded the letter anyway. The paper smelled faintly of cologne, familiar, haunting. His words began simply, Isabella, I don't know if I deserve to be heard, but I need to speak. My throat tightened. I kept reading. I've lost everything I thought made me strong. My company, my pride, my peace. And through it all, I realized the worst thing I ever lost was you. Leo's voice broke my silence. You can stop if it hurts. It doesn't hurt, I said. It just echoes. He leaned back. What does he want? I glanced back at the paper. I don't want forgiveness. I already know I burned that bridge. But I want you to know I see it now, the way I looked down on you, how blind I was. Losing you was my first punishment, and living with that truth became my karma. My eyes drifted across the page. His words felt heavy, honest, almost too late. You taught me that worth doesn't come from money or power. It comes from peace. And I've had none since you left. If you ever think of me, I hope it's not with hate, but with the same strength you found in yourself, I whispered. He sounds broken. Leo frowned. You think he means it? Maybe, I said quietly. But meaning it doesn't change the past. Leo nodded. So what will you do? I folded the letter gently. Nothing, nothing? Yes, sometimes silence is the only answer that fits. I walked to my office window. The sky was gray, the kind that holds both endings and beginnings. Leo joined me. You're not angry? No, I said. For the first time, I'm not anything. I'm just free. He smiled softly. That's growth. I looked at the folded paper in my hand. No, that's release. Back at my desk, I opened the drawer, the same one where I'd kept old dreams and forgotten fears and placed the letter inside. Leo watched me. Goodbye? Goodbye, I whispered, closing the drawer. For real this time. The sound of it shutting echoed louder than his words ever did. I turned off the desk lamp and let the daylight fill the room. Daniel's letter had tried to rewrite our ending. But I already had my closure. Some stories don't need replies. They just need peace, and mine finally had it. Asterisk, the morning sun spilled through the glass walls of my office, painting everything gold. I stood before the window, watching the city move, cars, people, stories I no longer needed to run from. Lena's voice broke the silence. You look like someone who finally exhaled. I smiled faintly. Maybe I did. She leaned on the edge of my desk. You did it, Isabella? You really did. Did what? I asked, half teasing. Everything you said you would, she said. You turned every insult into fuel. Every heartbreak into armor. I chuckled softly. Funny how pain becomes purpose when you survive it. The door creaked open and Leo stepped in, holding 2 cups of coffee. Morning, boss. I turned. Don't call me that. He grinned. Too late. You're the CEO now. You're stuck with it. I took the cup he offered. You two act like this is the finish line. Lena smirked. Isn't it? I shook my head. No, it's just the start of a new chapter. Leo tilted his head. Then what's next for the woman who rebuilt her own kingdom? I looked back at the skyline, endless, alive. Anything I want, I said simply. Leo laughed. That's dangerously vague. That's the point, I replied. For once, I don't need a plan. I just need peace. Lena crossed her arms, teasing, peace? From the woman who used to make color-coded revenge plans? I rolled my eyes. Growth looks good on me. She grinned. It really does. We all laughed, the sound light, unforced, the kind of laughter that didn't hide pain anymore. Then silence settled, soft but strong. I turned toward my reflection in the glass. There she was, the woman I fought to become. My hair a little shorter, my eyes steadier, my heart no longer heavy. Leo noticed me staring. What do you see? Myself, I whispered. Finally myself. He nodded. You earned that. I took a deep breath. I used to think I needed to prove my worth to someone else. But all along, I just needed to prove it to me. Lena touched my arm gently. So, do you regret anything? I smiled. No, regret means I don't do the journey. I wouldn't change a single step, not even the painful ones. Leo lifted his cup. Then here's to pain that made power. And to power that feels peaceful, Lena added. I clinked my cup with theirs. And to the woman who finally stopped running from her own reflection. Outside, the world shimmered in sunlight. For once, it didn't feel too big or too cruel. It just felt open, waiting. I turned to them. Ready to build something new? Always, Leo said. Always, Lena echoed as they walked out. I stayed by the window for one last moment, smiling at the city that once broke me. It didn't own me anymore. I owned myself.